Well folks, the time has officially come to finish up this basement bar. What's going on everybody? Welcome back to Homestead Studios. This week we're going to be finishing off this basement bar project that we started I think 5 or 6 weeks ago. So in case you missed any of those previous episodes, I will throw a link to the playlist up in the top corner. But before we dive into today's project, let's take a quick recap of how we got to where we are today. I really enjoy this part of the project, finishing all those small details off, really pulling the complete design together. So for starters, we finished the bulkhead above the window to hide that unsightly HVAC, and then we moved on to closing off the space above the pantry, or the pantry style cabinet. Now originally we had planned for kind of an open style shelving here, but once everything was installed, it really didn't seem to make any sense to have an open shelf, so we just blocked it off and color matched it with black paint. So I opted to use plywood for all of the kicks and paint them black to match everything, as opposed to using more of this filler panel. And the reason for that largely has to do with that kick drawer, because once that kick drawer is open, you would see the edge of that particle board on the filler panels, and that's not going to look very good. Whereas at least with the plywood, I can paint everything and finish it nice and black. My drawer front is a hair too tall to slide out nice and smoothly, so we're going to trim it down a little. So I'm just going to use some two-sided tape to hold this drawer front in place, since I can't get any clamps on it. With the bulkhead and the kicks finished off, it was time to turn our attention to the door fronts. This is the first time you really get to see the design come together, and you just cross your fingers it turns out how you hope. One of the other features of this bar I alluded to back in the design video but never did disclose was a little bit of texture and pop for a backsplash. If you ever find yourself installing cabinet hardware, I highly suggest you get some sort of jig. So I'm using just the standard Craig jig here because the spacing is only 3 inches apart. It only goes up to a 5-inch hole space. A lot of hardware you install will actually have a wider space than that. So I've got another guy that looks like this. It does the job just as well. For years I used one I just made out of wood, but I found it required a bunch of setup time, a little bit more accuracy on your part. This is almost kind of idiot-proof and makes life a lot easier. It's got little locking notches for everything, and it makes installing hardware a breeze. So the first one's on. We're going to finish up the rest of these, and that'll finish off this bar. Well, there it is. What do you guys think? I'm super happy with how it turned out. It was an awesome project to kind of go all the way from the design to the building to the finishing of it, and hopefully you guys learned a thing or two along the way. We did make a couple changes from that initial design. We swapped out kind of the black and glass sort of sleek looking bar fridge for this old school, really retro looking one that is bright red and just gives a huge pop of color in the space. And then that second design little feature we never talked about, we added some black hexagon tiles to the backsplash. Now this isn't a wet bar, but they aren't really there to protect the back wall. They're there to add a little bit of texture and definition to just this all black space. And the cool thing about them, unlike the fridge that is just like banging in your face, the tiles don't really reveal themselves until you get a little bit closer in, and then you can see the different textures and finishes, and I think that's really cool. You kind of need those aspects in design. On that note, we're finished with this project. Make sure to smash that subscribe button because we have plenty of cool stuff coming down the pipeline, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Also, no comments about cleaning. I know it needs a clean, but I'll do that at the end of the whole basement. If I do it now, I'm just gonna have to do it again later.